So this video is going to be the last one on functions for a little bit, and we're going to talk about a concept called higher order functions. So higher order functions are functions that either take a function as an argument or they return another function. So yes, this is possible, and not only is it possible, it's something that we'll be doing a lot, especially later in this course. So I'm going to show you an initial example, something called setInterval. And what setInterval does is it takes a function and it will call that function at a specific interval that we provide. So it's a way to have something repeat every second or every half a second. Right now with a loop, we can repeat things, but it happens immediately. So setInterval, we can time it out. So let's go ahead and take a look at how setInterval works. And before we actually dive into that, we need to define a function that we are going to pass to setInterval. So we're going to write code to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star again. We're just going to abbreviate it. And we're going to schedule it to run using setInterval every second. So first we need to write the Twinkle Twinkle code. So I'm going to do function sing. And that's just going to console.log twinkle twinkle and then another line, how I wonder, and we'll just leave it at that. So I can call sing myself just like that, and that works great. So next, what we want to do is use setInterval to make sing, or to call sing, every 1000 milliseconds, or every second. So to do that, I'm going to define the pattern here. So setInterval takes two arguments. It's just a function, but it takes another function as its argument. The first one is just, we'll call it another func, and the second one is the interval in milliseconds. So I'm going to fill this out now. Another func, the function we want it to call, is called sing. And the interval is 1000 milliseconds. Or we could do every half a second, 500 milliseconds, or 1 millisecond, which would be insanely fast, but I'm going to do 1000 milliseconds. So this is going to call whatever is inside of sing, these two lines, every 1000 milliseconds. And when I hit enter, you'll see that it starts to happen. The other thing I just want to call your attention to before it disappears is that when I ran setInterval, it returned this number 2. So we'll see what that's used for in just a moment. So another thing that you might be asking is, why do we not need parentheses after sing? And the reason for that is that we're not the one calling sing. setInterval is actually calling sing every 1000 seconds. So we don't want to execute it, we want to let setInterval execute it. So what we do is just pass the value of sing. We're just passing the name sing and the code inside of it, but we're not running it. We leave that to setInterval. So to stop setInterval, we need to use this number. So setInterval returns a number, and we can use that number to stop it. So there's another function, clearInterval, and we just give it that number 2, or it might be another number in your case. So to sum this up, setInterval is just one example of a higher order function. And a higher order function is one where we can pass another function to it as an argument. And we could return another function, which we haven't seen yet. But most often we'll be passing a function in to another function. So there's one other change we could make, which is sometimes we want to run some code every second, for instance, setInterval, but we don't want to define a separate function ahead of time. So instead of sing here, I don't have a function yet, and I want to write it right here. I can do that with something called an anonymous function. And that looks like this. So I write function, but I don't give it a name because I'm never going to use it again. I'm just giving it to setInterval. So function, parentheses, and then inside of here, I'll write my code. And I'm going to hit enter. So inside of these braces, I'm going to put my console.log, I am an anonymous function. And console.log, this is awesome. All right, so then I need to add my interval, comma, and let's do this every 2 seconds. So this is a little bit hectic looking, coming from our simple sing setInterval. What we're doing though is defining the function right here in line. So this is not something we can call outside of setInterval. It's purely a way to pass a group of code into setInterval. And then the second argument is the same, it's just another number. And if I do this, you'll see every 2 seconds, it calls this code. But I have no way to call this function again outside of it. So we will see anonymous functions quite a bit more later in this class. And almost always we use them when we're passing in a function to another function. So if this is still a little hazy for you, don't worry. We're going to spend a lot more time using these, things like setInterval, but also some other functions that we're going to introduce in a few videos from now.